Hey guys, welcome to Work Our Way. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Allie.
Yeah, this is a podcast about our adventure through Australia in a van formerly known as Fatty. Through our relationship, comedy, and content creation.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm back. I was gone for a couple of days doing a really strange shoot. But I gotta say, Pat, I really enjoyed your episode. Solo.
I think you were the only one. I got a little bit of negative feedback on that.
It kind of reminded me of like a smooth jazz DJ. Hey guys, I'm Pat, coming at you with the hits from the 80s, 90s, and today. Let's just relax, open that bottle of wine. Meanwhile, I'm like a little Corella on the air, which if you guys don't know is the world's most annoying bird. It's a bird that just screams and laughs at everything. And I was like, good God, there's such a contrast here.
Yeah, it was a ASMR. That's what it was. It was
Oh my God. I was like, wow, I need to maybe get my shit together a little bit and try to sound more like you, because I was just so calm. I was on the plane. I felt like I was going to go right to sleep. It was nice.
Oh, there was low energy. I didn't like it. As soon as I finished the episode, I wanted to jump into a wood chipper. I thought I did poorly. I rambled. Oh man! So if you guys are fresh off the last episode, welcome back to the quality. This will be much better. I know you guys missed Allie like I did.
Yeah, I was gone doing the weirdest video shoot. So I'll be honest, I heard you describe it and I was like, good God, I'm going to be thrown on a CIA watch list.
Yeah.
Because just to clarify for those who reached out and were genuinely concerned, I did not actually film every aspect of the airport. I, at the last minute, got the okay to not film security and not film anything that was sensitive. But for a little while there, it was looking a little sketch. But the day before, we reached an agreement. So I swear I'm not a terrorist. I didn't film anything I wasn't supposed to. But it was still very strange because it's still filming in an airport, which is like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
You know, like what?
I think I said it. They have so many cameras pointed at us. They can't get that mad if you point one back at them. You know what I mean?
You know, that's the thing. And
I was bringing it up. I was saying all the hot button issue words like bomb and ISIS and all of those things that trigger off all get you on a watch list, which means that, maybe the CIA and Homeland Security, they had to subscribe to our podcast. And honestly, we could use the numbers. So...
Well, I think it's really funny that words like terrorist, CIA, like people are like, oh, don't say that. That's going to put you... Like, if I was a terrorist and I was making a phone call, I wouldn't be like, hey, is this terrorist Joe?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get
to
get a hold of my bro from ISIS. Is this you? Like, they wouldn't just say that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
This is not Muhammad al-Shabazz. I'd be like, this is Bob Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
Mailing the package.
They don't use those words.
Yeah, they really go out of their way not to say those words.
Yeah. But yeah, regardless, I'll give you guys a little bit of context on what this shoot actually was. I won't say the name of the organization because now they probably definitely are going to get contacted by the CIA. But essentially, it's a company that is trying to develop virtual reality software for people who are afraid of flying. And they need footage of airports to show people what actually goes down when they're prepping for a flight. So a lot of people who are afraid to fly don't fly very often. So part of what scares them is just the process, which personally, I don't think that's it at all. I'm afraid of a cylinder going hundreds of miles per hour, 40,000 feet into the air, and me not being able to control it. That's where my fear stems from, and I imagine it's the same with everyone else.
Maybe. But
they're like, let's show them the process or whatever. So I had to carry a VR camera around the airport and just film as much as I could to include the entirety of the flight. So like I said, I don't exactly know what they're going to do with it or how they're going to make the software, but I did look at them up. They are legit. And I found them through a site called Upwork, which is how I find most of my freelance
on the dark
clients.
Web.
It's legit. But what made me feel good was that this particular client did have like 1 million positive reviews. It shows how much money they spend on the Upwork site. So the higher that number, the more legit they are. And they had an additional badge that just says that they're like an Upworks Plus client, which is just they needed to go through additional screening in order to get that. So I did weigh the pros and cons. It does seem a little weird, but at the same time, how else are they going to get that footage? It is just strange though, because I did Google, can you film in airports? And it is, I mean, it's considered a public space.
Yeah, that's
so
what I'm saying.
technically you can.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
But I did get approached by security a couple times and was asked to turn off the camera. So it is kind of that weird fine line where I think people they're like, what is she doing? What's her intent? What is she using this footage for? And it's not like I have a badge or anything that says I'm a legit videographer. I'm just kind of been bopping around.
Yeah, well, it's like Bob Smith and his very important package. It's like if you're doing it out and about for everyone to see, it's like that's not what a terrorist would do. It's not what someone who's trying to do something negative would do. They would try and hide it to the best of their ability. It wouldn't be walking around with a with a big camera strapped to their chest, going, what's this? Like in plain view of everybody. That's being that conspicuous is like it should let the security know that it ain't no thing.
Yeah, which obviously is the hope. But it was suspicious because I had to wear the exact same outfit for the 2 days. So I did a full day of shooting, spent a night in Adelaide, and then did another full day, and I was in the exact same outfit for both days. So all of the airports have cameras. I'm sure they saw me. Yeah. And I'm sure they were probably like, what is happening? She's just wearing the same stuff. That's not normal. Yeah. I don't think she's homeless because she's traveling nonstop. She's just going into airports, out of airports. She's flying like 3 to 4 times a day. So I acknowledge that it probably looked a little weird.
Yeah. How were the lines?
Oh, non-existent. Guys, I'll tell you what. People are not flying. I spent no more than 5 minutes in security for any one of my flights. And even the flight that we took from Sydney to Melbourne. Super short. Like people they are not flying.
It was the most empty plane I've been on in a while.
Yeah, we didn't have anyone sitting next to us. Like I saw a couple rows were completely empty. That's been consistent over the last week or two. Yeah. Which is,
guys, if you guys are looking to travel, now is the best time.
Oh, yeah.
The tickets are cheap.
Yeah, but you do see everybody with like their masks in there, and some of them have super trendy masks with like camouflage on it, and some people have like the cheap hospital ones. Like everyone, I mean, it is interesting.
They all look like everybody looks like a ninja from Mortal Kombat. It's like Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Exactly.
Reptile.
But my world did come crashing down a couple days ago. And this is so embarrassing to admit, but I have to address it because I do have to redo this shoot because the whole entire thing, because I wrongly assumed that I was supposed to be shooting in a format that wasn't actually compatible with what they were working with. So there was only like a couple of ways that I could have shot it. But unfortunately, I chose the one that's not compatible.
You biffed it.
I did. And it's the first time in my life that's ever happened. And I was just so shook. I was like, I cannot believe, I'm so embarrassed. How do we figure out payment? Because I spent money to travel and hotel costs. Like how do I just say forget about it? And so it was a really dramatic 24 hours. The client was obviously very upset, but we worked it out. I unfortunately do have to redo the entire shoot this week, which sucks.
That does suck.
Because I was so uncomfortable the whole time I was doing it. But that's really the best way to move forward. So I will tell you, it did remind me of another story that I will never forget. It happened when I was 20 years old in one of the major newsrooms that I worked with in Minneapolis. And this is really the ultimate fuck up. Like every time I think about, could this be worse? I say, yes, it could. And this is the story that it brings me back. It was a story that they were doing on a new technology. It was like this medical procedure where they were allowing deaf people to have like an implant that was going to allow them to hear for the first time.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And it was like this middle-aged woman who had been deaf her entire life. They were like, okay, we're going to invite you guys out. They're going to put in the implant, and then they're going to do the reveal in front of her family. So her family's going to be able to tell her that they love her, and she's going to be able to hear it, and it's going to be super emotional. And we were there. Cameraman was there. We got it. It was super, like, tears. Everyone was super emotional. And then we got back to the newsroom, and the camera dude deleted all of it.
Oh.
All of it.
Why?
And this was like, we were the one station that was allowed in the room because they didn't want to overwhelm the family with media. So we had to get special permission.
What an asshole. What did he do? How did he do it?
I don't even know, but I remember the reporter that I was shadowing having to tell the news director what happened. And I've never seen anyone get as beet red as this dude who was just so fucking pissed. So you know what they had to do to fix it? They had to stage the entire thing again.
News.
They had to stage it. They had to just, okay, guys, we totally effed this up. We need to pretend that this never happened, and we need to redo all of it. So at least I wasn't that guy. I may have biffed this shoot, but like no one suffered. It was just me. Like that, I will remember
really
that
funny.
the rest of my life.
Did they fire that guy?
Oh, you know, this was during like a 1 semester internship with them. So it was right near the end. I never followed up. I never figured out what happened, but I imagine he got fired. That is like a really big deal.
Yeah, you don't delete the thing that you just, the whole thing, their whole job. Hey guys, it's like I wasn't even here and I wasted your time.
There was also another really funny story from that same organization where a reporter got fired because he was interviewing like a Chinese restaurant owner, and he thought the Chinese owner said that we eat dog, and they reported everywhere like Chinese restaurant in Minneapolis openly admits to serving and eating dog. And then he called back and was like, you asshole, I said cow. Like he just couldn't understand the accent.
Oh my God. That's racist as hell.
Super racist.
That's racist as hell.
And like, yeah, he got totally he got fired like immediately.
Yeah.
So could be worse, honestly. But wow, like that. Oh yeah, that was. So I'll be gone again this week for another 2 days. Boo.
Boo.
But the good news is the airports are empty. It's pretty chill, no lines. So it should be generally, aside from the whole filming aspect, should be pretty stress-free.
Cool.
Which is good. Another big thing that happened in our lives. We're no longer in Sydney. We are in Melbourne.
Yeah.
We did fly here because we sold Fanny.
We sold our fat girl, which honestly that was really sad.
So sad.
I miss her.
I know. So many good memes.
Yeah, she treated us pretty well.
Yeah.
She went to a guy that doesn't want her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was crazy. We obviously put her up on Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree. And Gumtree is like the Craigslist equivalent here. And this old Scottish guy hit us up and was like, hey, I'm looking for a van for my son. He's coming here from Edinburgh. He's going to be traveling Australia, and I want to get him set up with a van. And so we were like, well, someone else is interested. We're showing it later. And he got super spooked by that and basically made us an offer same day for pretty much our asking price.
We got a good price. It worked out as good as it could have for us. We were like 1 day on the market. First guy we show it to, he makes us an offer in the range of what we were going to accept. It's not like we had like a huge haggle and like he lowballed us and we were like, should we take it? No, yes, no, yes. We gave us an offer that we wanted. Yeah. And we're like, hell yeah, let's do it. Next day, he picked up the van.
Yep, sold it over. Everything was good. There was a little bit of drama with the money because he wanted to give us all cash. Yeah. And I'm like, listen, I don't know how much longer we're going to be here. We don't need
we don't want
this much cash on us. Like, I'm already maybe on a list.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of dollars.
I don't want to start paying for flights in all cash. That's definitely going to do it. We're gonna be stuck here forever. But yeah, he basically we signed it over, and then that night he called. He like was texting, calling nonstop. I was like, what is going on? And he's like, hey, my son's not coming over anymore because of coronavirus. Yeah. Oh, his nephew. Yeah.
Yeah. His nephew changed travel plans so that he just bought this van for his nephew who just said no. And he was just like, I want
to give it back. And I was like, and we still had like quite a bit of money waiting to transfer.
Yeah.
And I was like, he was threatening to like pull it back. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, how did this happen? Are we really going to get Fatty back? Like how does this even work? What are our rights? And then, this was all happening as we were just hanging out at a bar and drinking a little bit.
Drunk.
Yep. As we get more drunk, I'm getting more anxiety about the whole thing. And then I checked my bank account and the money transferred. So I was like, dude, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
So huge bummer. And I can't even imagine. I'm still trying to help him out, and I'm still leaving it on Facebook Marketplace and directing new inquiries to him. So I'm not leaving him out there to dry, but wow, that would have been
he bought
shitty.
it. That's the thing. He bought it. He had buyer's remorse a day later, and that's not the way. That's not the way that shit rolls.
I know. It's a bummer. Like everyone is. Coronavirus is really. It's creating a whole lot of drama in so many different ways. We got to Melbourne, and a bunch of shoots that I had scheduled for big conferences and events, half of them are gone.
Yep, the Melbourne International Comedy Fest is canceled. Like people are canceling comedy shows. You guys know, if you guys are listening, you guys don't listen, living under a rock.
It's the remix.
Yeah, it's just getting weird. And I don't know, like, obviously I don't want to panic, but I guess it's time to start taking it seriously.
Yeah.
It's certainly affecting us, just tangentially. It's affecting what we can do, what we can't do, where we can go.
Yeah. A lot of people are asking, what's up? What are we doing? Where are we going next? And honestly, we don't have much of an update. I mean, the plan is to still go to Japan because it's a level 2 country.
Put some context. What's a level 2? What's level 1?
Oh, so level 3 are the countries. It's like a list of 5. It's like the top, like Italy,
China,
Iran, maybe South Korea, and I think maybe one more. I forget which one, but everything else is a level 2. So level 3, there's, different restrictions, especially as it relates to military travel. And level 2, there's still a little bit of flexibility. So the plan is to go to Japan. The plan is to go to Japan together, but we acknowledge that could change tomorrow, next week. Like, we don't know. We're just really taking it one day at a time.
Here's the thing. If they're going to make you go to Japan, they can't restrict me.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the good news is if you still have to go to Japan, which we're all about.
Yeah.
From what I understand about the coronavirus is like, however many people are going to get infected are going to get infected, and it's just a matter of lengthening the time it takes for all of those people to get infected, so you don't overburden the healthcare systems. Mm-hmm. I think they're calling it flattening the curve.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have seen it. Have you seen the graphic on Facebook?
I have seen the graphic, and now it's the whole hashtag. It's the whole thing.
I mean, if we go to Japan, though, it's got a high infection rate. A high number of people in Japan are infected with coronavirus. Then we go and maybe we get coronavirus, maybe we don't. But we'll survive it. We're both pretty healthy.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. And I think if we're gonna get it, we're gonna get it no matter what. It might be one of those things that seeps so far that most people do get it. And I think that's what they're predicting.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like trying to say, okay, we have to prepare everybody for this, for the long haul of cancellations, of pushing things back. I don't know what it's gonna do with the election. But long story short, if you still have to go to Japan, then they can't restrict me from going to Japan.
Right.
And so if you go to Japan, I'm going.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, because I don't know what's going to happen in 2 months. If this does get worse, if we, flatten the curve, or if we don't flatten it completely, or the curve spikes and they start closing off countries, I don't want to be closed off from you.
No.
You know what I mean? I'd rather be in Japan where there's a ton of coronavirus with you versus you in Japan or us just in different locations.
Yeah, that would not be ideal.
Right. No, I kind of refuse to do that if I have any choice whatsoever. So right now, as it stands, Allie's got the go-ahead to go to Japan and will be there around April 22nd.
Yep.
So that's where we are at. And unless something changes drastically, that's kind of where we'll go. If things do change, though, and you can't go to Japan, we'll likely be heading back stateside right around that same time. So we'll just switch Japan for the U.S. and we'll be heading back stateside.
Yeah. So we're keeping it open and we're preparing our lives for both options. That's why we sold Fatty so early. That's why we flew down here. I do still have a couple shoots. One that is in April. That's going to be really cool. It's a stunt driving course.
That's gonna be
I've been looking
fun.
forward to that for a while. So
too.
I don't think that's going to get canceled. Well, maybe. I don't know. They're canceling everything. So who's to say? But if we can stick around at least until then, after that, we're pretty flexible on what happens. And we should hopefully by then know what is going on with Japan's.
Yeah. We better know.
Yeah.
You'll be a week away from going. But, I mean, I could see a very real scenario where it's all systems go up until the 20th of April, and then they just say, nope.
True.
Right? So, like, they could cancel your orders the day before. They could cancel it on our way. We're at the airport, and they cancel it. So, there's enough that can still go wrong with this that, I'll consider it done when we're there, or we're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what's so stressful. And I can't even imagine people who have weddings coming up in April. April's a pretty big wedding season.
Yeah, and this is something that we have not seen.
No.
On Earth.
Yeah, in our lifetime.
Yeah, in anybody's lifetime. This type of pandemic, how it spread and how fast it spread, and the types of things that are needing to be canceled. Nobody's gone through this yet. So everybody, I mean, there is panic. And I don't know, I don't think panic almost ever is justified. But it's the amount of caution people are taking. This is an existential threat. And it's pretty interesting to see how it's all unfolding. Particularly to see how governments are kind of taking the lead and what they're doing with that. So, like China locked everything down almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And it's like for an authoritarian government, like they exercised quite a bit of authority. And while things were like kind of slipping out of their grasp in Hong Kong, they now do have a legitimate existential threat, which is bringing people back to their government. Mm-hmm. For better or for worse, people are starting to trust the big voice again. And very similarly in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like the media, people were I would say at their trust level was at an all-time low for mainstream media, both on the conservative and the liberal side. Mm-hmm. It was very clear you were seeing spun messages.
Yeah, fake
from both
news
fake news
became a thing.
Right. Who do you trust and how do you trust them? And I do think there's going to be a pretty large test for the current administration to see actually how much people do trust them. But you are seeing both sides of the media. The threat isn't for the liberals, it's not conservatives. And for the conservatives, it's no longer liberals. Everybody is talking about the coronavirus, and they're doing their best to get the most information out. And it does seem like a return to center for most media outlets, and to a large extent, the government. Yeah. So it's I mean, for better or for worse, an existential threat creates an enemy that everybody can get on board against, and no longer is it each other. But on the same token, I think you'll see a lot of the governments take this issue, the coronavirus issue, and make a lot of opportunistic plays. Like I think the American government just is, they're in the process of passing a bill that no longer allows encrypted messaging to each other, so they can start reading your encrypted messages, which that's like another pretty big overreach. And if coronavirus weren't in the front of every news outlet, people would be talking about this. Mm-hmm. Or the government wouldn't be trying to do this because they know people would be talking about it to a very large extent.
Right.
But the coronavirus is here, and that provides a lot of governments with an opportunity to kind of take a little bit more of a bigger bite out of our freedoms. And I think me even wearing my tinfoil hat. That's what I'm worried about. I do think the coronavirus is real and it is worth being cautious against, but I think we should still be making sure what's getting by on the peripheral isn't something that we wouldn't want anyway.
Do you think this was like a Watchmen scenario? Like, do you think coronavirus is the, I guess, solution to what would have been World War III?
Oh, that's interesting. No, but I've been saying for a while that I think there is going to be a large existential threat to most governments. It's been pretty clear that governments have been having a difficult time controlling their people. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh shit. Usually when this happens throughout history, it's followed by a war. Because it's pretty easy to get your people to band together to fight somebody else.
Yeah.
I just never assumed it would be like a pandemic. So I don't know if you mean like Watchmen, like it's a...
Like coronavirus is the...
Sure,
squid.
if there's an Ozymandias that engineered it all, I don't necessarily think that's true. I did just, not to reference another podcast, especially a very popular one, but Joe Rogan, I watched the one he had with a professor, Michael Offerman, something like that, okay. And it's a disease expert. And he talked kind of at great length about how we should be cautious and how we're not through the worst of it yet. The worst is certainly coming. But how this is the type of virus that is complex enough and evolved enough that it is very unlikely that it's a human creation.
So unlikely that it's human.
Yeah, very, very unlikely that it's like engineered by humans. Where are you going?
I'm just gonna fix
smart. Yep. So what they're saying is that this is just a natural evolution of a normal virus, and it's spread quickly and effectively, and it's just for how viruses are classified. It's good at being a virus, and it's better than we could engineer.
Yeah.
So you can trust him, maybe not. Some people think Joe Rogan's a CIA shill. I don't necessarily think that, but. Yeah, I think if it were a human virus, if it were made by humans, and it was used as some type of biological warfare, I do think it would have been, you would not see it globally. You would have seen it used against specific cultures. Or like specific, like if it were made by the Chinese, then I think you would see enemies of China getting it, not China itself.
That's true.
And not the allies of China, because everybody's economy is taking such a hit.
It's unbelievable. With all of the things being canceled, I can't even fathom what that number is going to look like in terms of amount of money lost. Yeah.
It's crazy. Not to get on my soapbox, but I'm already there.
Yeah, go ahead.
They put like $1.2 trillion, just pumped it into the economy. Mm-hmm. And it was like... You can look at the graph, and it was like a blip. It made almost no difference. It made a difference for about 15 minutes, and then it was gone. And it was just like, you could have pumped that money into so many. It helped the homeless. You could have, you could have wiped away student debt. You could have wiped away like so many different things that would have helped very long term, helped people. And they just kind of didn't. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what this does to the election too.
It is,
because every candidate for president is in the danger window of, if they are infected, this could have a serious effect on their health. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and even Trump.
Yeah,
these are people well into their 70s. All of them are pushing 80, and that's dangerous. It's dangerous. All of them appear to have health issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Trump literally doesn't believe in exercise, and he eats nothing but fast food. Bernie Sanders has had a heart attack, and Joe is slipping down the slippery slope of dementia. And it's just like, none of these guys, I'd say, are in peak condition.
I can't even imagine what would happen if any of them got it. That would just be crazy. That would change the whole election.
Oh, yeah, it certainly would. Yeah. Well, this is already changing the election. I don't know what state just canceled their primaries, but they're not having their primary election anymore.
Oh, boy.
So if we'll have to look at a different way, I think, if we have a vote in November, which we have to,
Yeah.
4 years. That's all a president gets before they're reelected. So unless this offers an ability for them to change the constitutional amendment that says a president can do whatever term-wise, which would be nuts if we.
No, they would figure out a way to make it online before they do that.
They would. I also think that, but they have to make sure that there are voter security. Right, there's going to be pretty litigious. Right, the way it's being done already, people claim voter fraud.
Yeah.
So
I suppose.
Yeah, if you open it to stay-at-home voting or mail in cast your ballots, however it is, there's going to be a very, very large amount of voter fraud. Or at least accusations of voter fraud. However the election shakes out, the loser is going to be screaming about how they won the election.
Yeah. If
it weren't for the people cheating because of this new system. You know what I mean? They tried a new app in Iowa and it completely... Well, we still gotten... Do we have the official results yet from Iowa?
How?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we do, actually. But... like they tried a new system in Iowa and it completely it shit the bed. So I don't know if we're ready for the mass change that there is going to be in how we do things.
Yeah. It is interesting, and we talked about this a little bit this morning. I haven't really felt out of place in Australia since being here until like a couple days ago, when we were actually traveling here through an airport to Melbourne. So for those who maybe don't know or aren't following it, Australia has very few cases and deaths as it compares to the US. I think the US right now is at like 100 deaths or possibly more, 1,000 infected. I think Australia only has a couple hundred infected and 3 deaths,
and a couple of those are Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it's honestly the few that are infected have had ties to the U.S. in some way. So we were at the airport and we were sitting next to 2 older people. One was a woman and one was an older guy. And I don't know how old they were, maybe 60s?
Yeah, 55 to, I'd say 65. They're right in that range.
And we sat down. We were trying to find a spot to sit. We had just gotten some sausage rolls and coffees, and everyone was sitting down waiting for their flight to be called for check-in. And this lady was like, hey, you guys just want to sit at our table? Super nice gesture. We sit down. And of course, the first question is, where are you guys from? And we said the States. And the guy who was sitting with us, his eyes widened, and I could see out of my peripheral vision 2 people sitting at a different table stopped what they were doing and turned around to look at us. And it was only after we said that we had been here since November that everyone kind of took a sigh of relief. And the guy actually said, if you hadn't been here since November, I would have left. No offense.
Really? Well... Offense taken.
Offense taken. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. And, you know, obviously this guy kind of already had something to say about the U.S.
He threw down a couple. He was just like, and the U.S. hasn't done, the U.S. hasn't. So I was like, well, hold on. Well, wait, hold on. They just declared a national emergency. 2 very big words. Those are large. There are many letters. I was like, what? There's a pandemic, man. They're doing... Maybe they haven't done enough, but like I don't know how you stop a pandemic. You can close all the borders, but most people aren't in favor of the U.S. closing their border. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people aren't in favor. Like, this is just gonna spread, dude. This is just gonna spread.
He actually said, "I don't think the U.S. has let this get out of control." Like, he was very accusatory and very obviously upset with the way that the U.S. is handling it. Hence his disdain toward us upon us saying that we were from the States. But we ran into it a little bit at brunch this morning too. We sat down and we were talking openly about American politics, and there was a lady sitting next to us who was giving us dirty looks half of the time. And then when our conversation ended, she called over one of the waiters and was like, I heard that America started this virus. And the waiter was Chinese. And I was like, this bitch is like being passive aggressive a little bit, and she knows we're American. She's given us dirty looks, and now she's openly talking about America in a way that's just very, I think, unfair.
Yeah.
And luckily, the Chinese guy was like very just professional in his answer. And he's like, well, there's a lot unknown. I don't think we know enough to put blame on anybody. But here are the facts. Here's what's being reported. And he was actually like very fair in his response. But I was like, gee, like, this sucks. Like, this doesn't feel good. Like, people are openly looking at us and saying, oh, you guys are American. First of all, what are you doing here? Are you infected? But also, you guys let your country get this bad. And they're comparing America's numbers to Australian numbers, which is skewed because the populations are different. The international business is different. I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts?
I generally think I haven't met too many Australians over a certain age that don't look at Americans pretty negatively. And my general thought is pretty much just fuck them. You're pretty dumb. You think that we're loud and obnoxious and a little racist. It's like, you live in Australia and you have decimated the Aboriginal culture. I don't know at what moral high ground you think you're coming at me with, but I just don't see it. All right, I'm not going to blame you for all of the issues of your country. I'm just not going to sit here and get talked shit to about my country from you. That's my general attitude, and that's my general attitude about most social issues that people come at me with. And it really is just it seems to be Australians of a certain age, and if they're over the age of 50, they're going to have a very predictably poor view of America. And I generally, there's the loud American stereotype, the obnoxious American when they travel, which is, I think, skewed. Up until about 20 years ago, only 5% of Americans had passports. So you're telling me that we've been traveling so much that we have got a whole new stereotype off of 5% of Americans with passports? I don't buy it. I think it's just it's trendy. It's easy. Nobody second guesses your negative opinion about America because America's the big kid in the fucking schoolyard. Yeah. That's just the simple facts. And America, we don't have an authoritarian government. We do. I'm no fan of the current administration, but it's not an authoritarian government like China or Russia. So most of the messaging you get from America is it's critical of itself. Mm-hmm. And that has not served us very well on the national or the international scale, because other people can look at us and say, oh, look, even you guys harp on yourselves. You guys have pretty negative things to say about yourselves. And it's like, we do. We air our dirty laundry out in front of everybody. We have a large amount of diversity, and we have a large amount of culture clash, and with that, racism. And I'm not making an excuse for it, just simply saying that there's no other place on the planet as diverse as America. Mm-hmm. And we do have issues because of it. And we show those issues, warts and all, to the entire world, for better or for worse. We do show it. And it's weird that other countries will make us pay, will look at us. You look at a place like where we just were in Australia. It's like almost 100% white there. Yeah. And if you just bring up casually there's a section of town over there that has a ton of Chinese, you'll see them visibly scoff. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I see. Mm-hmm. You're pretty fucking racist yourself. You just haven't had practice with it. You're just surrounded by white people all day, so you don't even understand how racist you are.
Well, that's the sad thing about coronavirus is I can already see people reacting negatively if they see an Italian or an American out and about. Like, people are just, unfortunately, when they panic, and when people panic or are scared, they really do show their true colors. And I told you this also, I'm a part of a couple of groups online on Facebook that are for like traveling nomads. And, I'm a part of one particular group that's very large. I won't say what it's called, but they are actually deleting and censoring posts of people talking about still traveling, even with the lockdown of all the countries. And and shaming them publicly and saying, oh, because you guys aren't quarantining yourself for 14 days, you are the reason that this is a problem, blah, blah, blah. And it just sucks because it's like, you know, I have to travel this week and I'm doing it because I need to make money. Half of my shoots have been canceled. I'm not in a position where I can afford to take 2 weeks off. I'm not getting paid by anybody to do that. And I imagine there's a lot of other people in very similar situations who are still out and about, who are still working. And those people are being actively judged by the other half of the population who aren't. And it just sucks because as much as this is supposed to hopefully bring people together, because it's a common enemy and we need to band together to figure out how to stop it or do research to figure out how to get vaccines, etc. I think it's equally becoming very divisive, and you are seeing racism kind of spike as a result of that.
It's almost like any other social ailment.
Yeah.
You know, if you are not educated or if you are prone to snap judgments, you tend to blame other individuals, right? Who are like in your social class or lower.
Yeah.
It's just, you see it with poverty. Poor people blame other poor people for their situation. You know, they don't blame the overall architecture that most often is kind of rigged for most people not to succeed. And I think it'll be very much the same way with the spread of this disease. You'll see people turn on other people versus looking at the large architecture and understanding like, oh, maybe our healthcare system we should take a look at and make it more robust to handle these things. Maybe we shouldn't have central points of failure where we're mass producing these like masks and gloves and other preventative sanitization products from third world countries because of cheap labor. And now we can't get any of those. You know, maybe we should take a look at all of our infrastructure and how we import more than we export. And now we can't import anything because of embargo or because of quarantine. You should take a look at the large architecture that has allowed this virus to spread and why it really is such a danger. It's not because there will be a lot of people that will die. A lot of people will die if we hit a mass infection threshold where we can no longer treat them in hospitals, because the hospitals are oversaturated with people who are getting treated with coronavirus. We don't have an architecture set up to support this many people getting sick at once. And it's not like we couldn't see this coming. You know what I mean? The Center of Disease and Control has been saying that this has been on the horizon for a while. If it's not this one, there's going to be another one. And they're like, disease will get us eventually. We don't make it through large amounts of time, like hundreds of years, without a large disease running through our population. And we just aren't set up for it, even though we could predict it was happening. And this is just, whatever the next thing it'll be is, people will blame each other versus understanding that this was coming no matter what.
Yeah.
And we could have prepared for it, though we didn't. And it's not the fault of just your average dumb person, but your average dumb person will blame the person right next to them.
Literally, like at the cafe today.
Yeah.
You know, indirectly, we were essentially shamed in public.
I didn't feel shamed.
I did. I was listening into the whole thing. I was like, am I going to have to speak up? Am I going to have to say something and be like, listen, we took up 2 weeks of our time, our vacation, to help with the bushfire relief. And I'm 1,000% positive you didn't. And yet you have the gall to just come at us as Americans. Like, it's upsetting.
Yeah, that part is a little frustrating. Giving your time to do like the bushfire stuff and like help out and like help this country.
For this country. The same country that's coming at us.
Yeah, every time we turn around, you got some asshole telling us that we're a problem. Yeah. Eat my hairy butt. Okay? There's a coronavirus. Yeah.
Oh, man. So now that we're both off our soapboxes.
Oh, yeah. We got on one right there. Guys, thanks for listening to that.
I mean, I'm still a little hot because it did just happen this morning. And it's like I said, it's frustrating and it's new. I mean, the last time we were in Melbourne, none of this was going on. Things were fine. I didn't feel like a foreigner here. Now I do. Yeah. Now it's like, it's frustrating that when people ask where you're from and you say America, now there's automatically a negative connotation because, oh, you guys have a ton of infected people.
Well, here's the thing. There already was a negative connotation. It's just now they feel vindicated and justified to express it.
Exactly.
That's all it is. It's just like when this first started, you saw like a spike in racism towards Chinese. And it's not that like all of a sudden these are new feelings that people are having for the Chinese. It's just now these retards felt vindicated enough to say something out loud. And this will just give rise to whatever anybody's underlying ignorance and sentiment is against an entire people. So if they're expressing it out loud, it's because they've felt it forever.
That's true.
So again, eat my hairy butt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else to say?
You know, I think we've said a lot.
I feel like we really went off there.
Yeah. We've just added to the commentary that's already going on about coronavirus and everyone's got something to say. So that's our take. That's how it's affecting us. Do what you want with it.
Yeah, guys. Well, governments are taking the opportunity to chomp down on our individual freedoms. Let's also take the opportunity as a podcast to maybe make some hay with this coronavirus.
I have an opinion.
Now, you guys are all on lockdown as you guys are avoiding your social interactions and doing all that. Why don't you tell people to give our podcast a listen?
Why not?
Yeah. All right. They'll be killing time. We'll be killing time. We'll be creating content for you guys. We'll be locked in, quarantined, all that good stuff, and increasing our podcast listening. So, guys, get some other people to listen. We want to see those podcast listeners continue to grow. If you get a chance, follow us on Insta at Work Our Way. Write into us at workourwaypodcast@gmail.com. Guys, we'd love to hear from you. Check us out on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Work Our Way. What else do we got?
We got the website, www.workourway.com. We'll have a lot of time to upload some videos and update everything. So, give that a go. And also, we do have a couple shoots this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing another Taste Made Travel video for a winery. So we're going to show you the full process of how to make wine, which I'm sure a lot of people are drinking right now. Yep. So hopefully that's of interest. But then on Friday, we have a Bollywood music video that I'm going to shoot. So hopefully I'm able to share that with you guys as well. That should be interesting. And then, I have to redo my 2-day shoot. So hopefully I make it through round 2 of airport security. If not, I'll see you in prison quarantine. Yeah. I'll come at you live from there. All's good. We do miss you guys. We hope everyone's washing their hands. Stay safe. It's crazy out there.
Yep.
We miss you.
Yeah. We'll see you next time, guys.
See ya.
Bye.